Hi peeps, I thought I'd do a quick tutorial on this OnAir company management system. The reason being is I was on FS Economy, which I think is still pretty good. However, this online OnAir Airline Manager is just fantastic for anybody with Microsoft Flight Simulators, probably with the uh, other software programs they have for simulation for flying, but certainly for MSFS 2020 people, this is a great program. I'm not getting paid for this. This is just my critique on this particular program. I've been using it for a bit over a week now. There's a free 7-day trial to try it out if you want to. If you're like me, then you'll probably, if you enjoy it, then obviously you'll probably end up with an account. Okay, so this is the splash screen that you're presented with. As you know, I've got the account under but as you can see. Now there are different worlds there. So you can go into the tutorial using the Clear Sky world if you want to. I'd probably suggest you go straight into the Thunder world, as you can see. And the reason being, and also I've got it so I've got the survival mode set. With the survival mode, meaning that everything is so it's realistic. In other words, you crash, well, you crash, and it's history for you, sort of thing. Um, there is obviously there's insurances and things like that what take into account. So you got to have the crash detection will be on, so it checks to make sure that you've got the crash set up in your particular settings on the flight simulator. So if you do crash, yep, like I said, it starts to cost you money. So fortunately, I haven't had that happen to me, but as you'll see from the demonstration here, if you're taking cargo and things, it's pretty cool because it actually registers if you've got too many steep turns or maybe your G's are 1.5 or more, it actually takes into account and reduces the quality of the cargo and stuff. It's a very cool management system that links to the flight simulator. Anyhow, so you'll be clicking on the online persistent world, which we'll do now. And I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. Maybe this is going to be more than one part, so you might want to look for the other parts because there's quite a bit to it. But I will definitely just show you how to get into it as a shortcut. Yeah, so shortcut but is going to be able to show you how to get into it. Now you are presented with this other management screen. Obviously there's no notifications log as you start flying. You get all this information, which probably aids because obviously you want to make sure that your jobs are finished and you're getting paid for them. You will start with 10,000K cash when you begin your trial. So you've got to be able to rent the planes. If you can't afford to, you stuff something up, then you won't be able to afford some of the more expensive planes. I'm running a TBN 930, which is of course uh, it's the day at 930, so it's a really good plane. To get some obviously to get a bit of speed into it because you're going to do a lot of short jumps. Okay, so first of all, you're going to be presented with these tabs across the top. You might want to go into options into the global settings like I've just to show you. There is a thing called an offset. So the offset here allows you to fly at different times to what your simulator time is, or your actual even computer time. But obviously this affects your simulator time. So if you want to fly night, for example, you would change the offset from UTC. Obviously that's Greenwich Mean Time, and then you can offset that. Now I've got it, if you set it to 0, it's going to be the same time as the location that you're flying. So otherwise you would minus or plus this, and you can go up or down through here. As you can see, it changes the time for the simulator. So it allows you to fly night flights if it's through the day. You're at night maybe when you are coming home from work and you want to fly through the day, or you can change the offset to be able to change the simulator time. And it does, it changes the simulator time when you set that. But just remember to save it down here, otherwise it's not going to do anything else. Now, I've got survival difficulty mode at the moment, so you can't do instant transport of player. So if you go to a different location, in the different location, if you don't have the survival, then you instantly appear at that location to fly a plane. Now, I suggest you don't do that. I suggest you have the survival difficulty mode set. And in which case, then if you're going to go halfway around the world, well, it's going to take you 2 days. So, you're not going to be flying for a couple of days. So, in other words, most of your flights are going to be local. You're going to be using the same plane most likely until you do check rides. Yes, this does have automatic check rides depending on the aircraft you're flying. Um, and maybe in a different part, I'll show you a check ride, part two to this quick critique demonstration. Okay, so you can change the synthetic voice and everything because obviously during the flight, certain things she'll mention when it monitors it, the wind, you can set it up so the wind is notified to you just as you're coming on final approach. I noticed there's a little bit of difference between the flight simulator and the OnAir. Whereas winds might be calm, which I just struck before, but it's like 4 knots or 5 knots using the OnAir voice system. You can turn that off if it becomes a bit too confusing for you. And also check the use small airports. So when you're dealing with smaller planes, you want to use small airports. However, obviously when the plane gets a little bit bigger and you need a bit bigger runway length, then you're not going to be you'll uncheck this. Otherwise, just general sounds and stuff. Okay, so that's that part. I won't save that because I don't need to change anything. Now, after options, you need to go and find jobs. So you're going to find jobs under the World tab, and you'll see Find Jobs. So you click on the Find Jobs because you want to get paid for where you are. Now, I've set this at the moment. It's set up in Ohakea in New Zealand. I fly out of my home base is Queenstown. Um, I've chosen New Zealand because, well, I'm in Australia anyway. I'm an ex-Kiwi anyway, but it's an interesting landscape. It's a bit like Switzerland, but the good thing is that when I go to finish renting a plane, no one else really picks up the plane, hence me being in New Zealand. Now, if I was in Switzerland, Zurich, you can imagine how many Europeans are going to be flying, so therefore every time I go to get a plane, it's already been rented out, in which case I won't be able to get it. So I'll actually talk about the aircraft renting in a moment, but we'll just finish this. Okay, so I'm actually in Ohakea, which is NZ OH. So that's Ohakea. It's a military base actually in New Zealand. I just happen to fly in there, so we're going to just give you an example from this point. Okay, so after you've done that, you put in your ICAO code. So once that goes in, then it comes up with the actual place that you're going to be flying from. The next thing that you want to be doing is you can actually go from or to a specific airport. Now, usually most of the time it's defaulted to from because you're going to be flying from a particular place that you've rented the aircraft from. You can actually change the distance you're going to be traveling as well. So you've got very short, small trip, etc. And as you can see, smaller planes, you'll probably want to bounce to smaller airports to begin with. You probably don't want too long a trip. It's only once the planes get a bit bigger that you're rated for, well, then you can go up in the type of the distance here in range. But we'll just stick to a less than 50 nautical miles because I'll probably just split this particular video into a couple parts to show you the whole thing. So after you've done that and the actual airport, all you do is hit the Query Logistics Center, and then it's going to load up the jobs that are available from this location. So as you can see, the map comes up. It's a really tidy facade to this particular program. You'll enjoy it immensely. Okay, so there's a set of obviously headings across the top here, and with the information, obviously where the flight is to, what you're going to be carrying, the heading to that, and I'll tell you why that's important in a moment, the distance to that particular location, the cargo, whether it's going to be cargo or passengers, the type of seats if it is passengers, whether it's economy, business class or first class, the total weight, which is important. So that's the smallest destination of the airport. So that's the type of airport, how long the runways and things are going to be. Obviously, the expiration time frame of if you take, because once you take an order or a job, then it disappears from public view, from the pilot view. So the reason being is you've held it under your particular company name until you fly it. All right. So sometimes there's an expiry time, which is important because obviously they're not going to keep it. As you can see, that one there is 4 days and 15 hours before, so I don't have a penalty involved. And these are the penalties if you don't do it, and how much you're going to get paid, which is probably the important part, and whether it's fragile or not. So, which is still the same as here. And the joystick means that you're going to have to fly it because you can set up full management where you've got employees. So you can get other pilots while you're asleep that you have under your banner or airline that fly it for you. So you can be asleep and still earning money, which is something that I'll probably do another video separate to this one. And then you can click whether it's favorite or not, because obviously it will still come back into the system later on, and you've got favorites, so you can do it again if it's high paying. So let's do a fairly short trip to somewhere. When you click on it, don't click this column here, otherwise it's going to bring up the airport information. Try and just click on the bar, that the whole row that actually is highlighted somewhere else other than that one there. So let's look for I'm flying a TBM, so it costs $600, but you'll see that in a second. Let's go to, there's Dannevirke, that's a tiny little airport. As you can see, that's the airport size, so there's nothing. Oh, there's twos up here, so I probably could go to somewhere like that. That's Palmerston North, so we'll probably go there, which is a really short flight. It will show you on the map over here the distance of where it is. It's 762 pounds. Obviously, that will be fine for my aircraft type, and you'll see that in a moment. So I will actually just take that, and when you take it, it accepts it. And as you can see, it's disappeared. So that's because it's now in the pending part. So it moves from open jobs that are available and into pending. So you can go from the logistics center straight to the pending, and you can find your job. So as you can see, the Palmerston, I've got other ones that I've taken as well. It gives, there's the $1,700. We know at least one cargo. Oh, that's the wrong one, so that's no good. So there should be another one there. I thought that was, so maybe that is the one in actual fact. Oh, there it is there. So I just had to click on it. Okay, that confused me. But so it's just going to Palmerston North at 1,710. It's actually, it says here, at least one job cannot be flown by the AI pilot. In other words, you have to do it. That's what the joystick part, and it's fragile cargo. Now, the reason why that's important is because when you're flying it, if you're G-forces, as I mentioned earlier, or you're doing steep turns, you'll start to, your cargo diminishes in its quality, and it actually is represented, and it tells you this while you're flying. Yeah, so that part's pretty cool. Okay, so now, after you've done that, you have to rent the aircraft. So we know we're going to be flying this one. You don't need to click anything. If you abandon it, you'll get a reduction in your experience, yep. So there's a reduction in your reputation, I should say. So you've got to be careful about your reputation. You want to be able to make sure that you deliver the goods and stuff. Keep your reputation fairly high. Yeah. Okay, so we know which distance it says a heading, because sometimes when you do the searches under the logistics center, you will do it by heading as well, because you might want to fly somewhere eventually with lots of little hops to say Taupo or maybe up further north. So you'll check which degrees and you'll do a search under those ones. So if I go quickly back to the logistics center, you'll see that there's the heading one. So I might want to be able to, you'll see that north is obviously close to 15 degrees. So I could go for one of these, and as you can see, it's heading north. Yeah. If I'm going to be heading south, you can see the ones here. So I've searched it by the column. So each column is able to be search pattern can be filtered onto that particular heading. So it could be cargo, could be the amount of money you're earning, etc. So I'll just go back to that pending. So after the pending part you've done, you don't need to touch anything on this. There's no selections here. It just shows you the jobs that you can do. Obviously, that's where I'm located at the moment on my simulator. Is at Ahakia, where I'm just going to be going from Ahakia to Palmerston North. Okay, so the next thing, you have to rent an aircraft. So you can go to the shortcut bar up the top. Now, it says that your company has no aircraft available because I don't own any. I've just been renting them. So I hit the global market. Now, there's two selections here. One, you can select from a list, and you can go for, obviously, you'll probably start off with a single engine piston. You'll have to be rated. Again, I'll mention that I will do a separate video for that when you go to ratings, to be rated on it, and you have to do a check ride. Check ride, of course, is when you the instructor, you're evaluated by an instructor, which is AI anyway. They monitor your plane, and you've got to listen to a set of instructions that you need to tick off, and then they'll let you be rated on that particular one. So for me, I'm actually flying the turboprop, single turboprop, which is that one there. If you click on that, you do a search, it will come up with all the available aircraft, that is. Now you can search this again and across the columns, and most of the time you'll probably just click this column. So I'm using Microsoft Flight Simulator, so they come up together. If you're flying XP11 or something or other X-plane, well then you'll be looking here for those types of aircraft. Okay, so I want to fly the 930, of course, which is that one there. And so that's the one that I'll be going for. And if you want to, you could just, you can click on it, and then it's going to ask you how far away you want to search from the airport from your current location to find that plane, because you're going to be in a location, you're not going to be catching public transport. You'll probably fly to that location if it's close and actually rent it. So you're going to have to pay for one rental just to get from A to B to get that particular plane, or you might take cargo to that particular destination, then pick up that type of plane. Just replay this if this is a bit too quick, but obviously I'm doing it as fast as I can for the video, so it's not boring for you. Okay, so you can type in, so I'm in NZ OH at Ahakia as it comes up, and you're going to do the search of the aircraft database of that type of plane. And so here they all are. These are within 250 nautical miles. All those TBN 930s. So I'm going to look for something that's going to be 0, so you can just do existence. And there's 2 planes available at Ahakia. One of them is available for rent. Okay, so you can buy it, but I don't have enough money for that. Yeah, so you can just rent it. You hit the details button to rent it, but I'm not going to do that because there's another way of doing it, and I'll show you how. So I've got the plane loaded into my sim. So if you want to, you can either go this direction, or if you've got it already loaded into your simulator, you can just click that button there, and then it's going to look for this one at the same Ahakia Air Base and search it. You need to type that in, of course, and then it comes up with the same information, or as you can see. So you can either do it one way or the other way. So sometimes you're going to look for a plane that is not the one you're flying that you've got in the simulator, because you're going to probably change the type in the actual plane type when you get to a destination, but you need to find out where to go to be able to change it. Okay, so we're going to rent it. So to rent it, you just hit the details button over here, and then it comes up loading aircraft data, and after it comes up with the data, then we're going to go and rent it. Now, obviously, it's important to check the empty weight, the maximum payload, which is important. Obviously, it's going to count whether it's passengers, the weight of the passengers, etc. So it's going to take everything into account, the maximum number of seats. Obviously, this plane only has economy seats, so I can't take business passengers and I can't take first class passengers. I have to change the type of aircraft, but that can come later because you just don't have enough money. Yeah. Now the next thing is that before you go to rent it, just be mindful you've got a renting bond here. So if you don't have enough cash, you can't go straight in and fly maybe a Citation or something or other, because you won't have enough cash to be able to pay for the bond. So you'll be limited to the smaller planes to begin with. But that's a lot of fun anyway. Lots of takeoffs, lots of landings and stuff. So then once you're happy with everything, you're going to rent it. Now, when you rent it, and you click the button, it's just going to make doubly sure that that you understand that $600 per flight, per hour, per flight hour, and at the end of a lease, the aircraft has to be returned to the current airport with its same fuel level, and a bond to pay immediately $6,000. Yeah, you'll get it back at the end of the rent. So that speaks for itself. So as you can see, 7 economic seats, no business seats, no first class seats. Yeah, so I can't take that type of, and it will tell you if you go to click on it when you go to request a job, if when you go to fly it and it's got first class or business class, it won't let you fly it. So, again, be mindful of it that, you're picking up the right plane to do the type of jobs, or pick up the jobs that's going to suit the plane. Okay, just hit the confirm button. Now you've rented it. Now, it doesn't mean that you're renting it and paying for it at the moment. It's only when you're flying it, you're actually running it, and you've got the engine going and it's using fuel. That's when it starts the rent. Yeah. So you effectively could rent it um, and hold the plane, but from memory, I think it only allows you to hold it for a certain length of time, and then it will just expire, and then it will go back into the pool. Okay, so we're going to be flying from there to NZPM. So you can, if you want to, you can click on the actual airport and go to the airport sheet just to familiarize yourself if you need to. Obviously, if you're using SimBrief and other things, it's going to tell you more information. But we know that it's a east-west runway, as you can see. So if you've never flown there before, and I haven't flown to Palmerston North before, so at least it gives you quick. And if short flights, you're going to be doing from location to location. You're not going to be doing too many waypoints or anything. You go to SimBrief and it might give you an extra one, but on the short ones, it's just going to be from your destination. Sorry, from your uh, from where you're going to be leaving at that particular airport to the destination airport. So yeah, obviously it's just going to be direct. So okay, so we've done that. Now the other thing while we're just sitting in that is the open airports or closed airports. So if the airport is closed, then what happens is there's penalties for using it. Now it's going to take into account obviously the landing fees as well when you're flying and you're landing. I know there's a lot of information here. You just, like I said, just pause it or repeat parts to it so you get the full information. So the operating hours are important, so you don't pay penalties if it's outside operating hours. Yeah, and of course be mindful again that some of the airports will be closed, so they don't have the runway lights on if it's nighttime, and it will become a little bit difficult to land. Okay, so that's the airport details. Anyhow, we're going to go back. We're going to go. Sorry, we know we've got the job already organized. We've got the airplane organized. The next thing you'll be doing is go to the live operations map. So the live operations map, when you click on that, now I've got the plane already set there, so that's good news. It's already connected. Now it shows you a square box here of all the planes that you're going to have in your in your airline. However, I've just got renting one. Yeah, so it's going to show me these three things here. So one is that aircraft details, where if you want to cancel it, you can do so. So if you want to board the flight, you can. So you can kill it, that you can stop renting the plane. Find the jobs at the current airport. So you could just go into here, select the plane which is at the airport you're on, and then go to the logistics center. So you could go the other way if you want to, but I suggest you'd probably go to the logistics center, pick up the jobs first rather than get the plane, because you don't know what plane size you're going to be flying necessarily. And obviously there's different piston aircraft you can choose with your simulator. Okay, so where you're going to be going is to the prepare the next flight. So you click on the prepare the next flight. It's going to prepare the aircraft. And this is where you're going to be able to select your fuel if fuel is available at that particular, at your origin, your airport of origin. Yeah. So if if it's available to you, you can look for different prices of fuel as well. So some of them have it, because you can actually own an FBO which allows you to have your own fuel that you can sell. So later on, you can build up your cash reserves, and then again, I'll go into that later on down the track when I've earned enough money to be able to afford my own FBO. to be able to, sell fuel and things later on so I can earn money when I've got, I'm asleep, etc. Okay, so if we go to this, so I'm going to increase the fuel level here, even though I don't really need to for the flight. 181 gallons is more than enough, but I'll just click it on a couple. So when I fly, it's still going to end up with the same amount of fuel if when I go to finish it. So I'll just go up to 66, up to 192. I'm going to use some gallons, and that's going to be enough, hopefully, that when I finish it, I'll go up to 198. So when I finish the flight, then it's going to actually have it where it's used a certain amount. So when I stop renting the aircraft, I've still got the same amount of fuel, so I don't get penalized for that. However, obviously the plane's still got to go back to the point of origin of where I've rented it from. And so therefore you've got to pay for a pilot to go back, an AI pilot to go back. And so that costs you money too. So just be mindful of that. I might just keep the rental anyway. Okay, so that's that side with the fuel, yeah? Now, this is what's available for me to load. Now, I'm going to Palmerston North, which is NZPM. Now, I've already got set some other ones that I'm going to be. That's Hamilton. I'm not too sure. I think that might be Tauranga or something. I can't remember what TT is. But anyhow, I've already got some other jobs lined up for later on. Again, that's the weight. Now, you can change the weight to load. So you can take something that's going to be heavy in what your plane is. And you got to remember that if it's a fairly heavy, the plane's going to, be bottomed out. So the back of the, if you've got a nose wheel, then the plane's just going to be unbalanced and it's going to sit up skywards. Yeah, that means you've got too much weight in it. So you can change the amount of weight to load, which is quite a handy feature because you could go then deliver it, go back again, and then pick up the rest, and then go and deliver it, and then get paid for it. So you can split the weights, so you can split the load, which is a pretty cool thing. Okay, so we're just going to click, then you check box that one, and that means that's what I'm going to be loading, and that means I'm going to be going to Palmerston North. Now, sometimes you'll have two destinations for the one job. So it only indicates how much it's going to be on this one with just one line. It doesn't give you, say, if it was two destinations I had to take stuff to, it's only going to mention it on the one line. All right, so just again, be mindful that you're selecting the right job for what you're going to be carrying to that destination. Yep. So you click on that anyway. It gives you the gross weight. Obviously, that's going to be for the maximum gross weight for the plane, and I'm going to be 6911, so it's just a bit less than what it's going to be, so the plane won't end up with the nose wheel off the ground. If that does happen, just go back, abort it, and then come back and just change the weight here. Okay, so after that, you can confirm the fuel and payload or confirm and go fly now. All right, so I'm going to be doing go confirm and go fly now. If you click on that, it's transferring everything to the apron, so that loading the plane, so it's connecting to it. Now, as you can see here, it's loading the plane. So it's going to be 0.8 minutes before it's fully loaded to this position. Obviously, there's no passengers, it's cargo. The fuel loading's finished, so that's pretty cool. What you do need to do is go to number 2 and select a destination, because it wants to make sure you're going to be going to that particular destination to offload. So NZPM, that's Palmerston North. And so I've got no co-pilot or anything. I'm going to be, no AI flight allowed in this world. In other words, I have to fly it myself, So it's connected to the simulator. So you can actually, I'm just going to go and hit the resume button. And here I'm at the airport. Obviously, I've landed here anyway. I'm using the add-on TBM, which I might, I just noticed that the strobe is on. Just take that off. Okay, so I'm using the TBM mod. It's available. I'll put a link in the description down below. It's a pretty cool mod in actual fact. You can, if you need to, you can have it so You can actually see yourself. You can also do the same for the co-pilot. For some reason, there might be a bit of a fault with that one because it disappears after you go into the flight. Somebody might be able to leave a comment if there's a fix on that yet, but if I just jump out of that, as you can see, it can open up the doors. There's a cargo door that you can open up when you first load it. It doesn't seem to work after you've had a flight though, so I can't work that one out. A little ladder comes out and everything, so it's pretty damn cool. That's free, yeah. So you can mod that up. Hasn't affected. There's some comments there that it's affected some things, but I've loaded it up and it hasn't affected my MSFS. I'm running a 9 chip as well, so it's a Intel Series 9. So yeah, so my computer's pretty quick. You know, I've got lots of gig of RAM, etc., and decent video card and stuff. Okay, so we'll just go back in. I'm using also an X52 joystick. I find, you know, you really want a joystick to be able to, you know, use the flight simulator. A decent one if you can. You know, it's worth its weight in gold. Okay, so I'm in this, but I have to go back to the this part. It's already loaded now, as you can see. It's to that arrow point. The next thing is you've got to select that, as I've mentioned, the NZPM. We're going to be then go to flight tracking page. When you go to the flight tracking page, it comes up. It should. Yep, there it is. Okay, so it's come up to the flight tracking page. Now, if you're not in survival, if you're in survival mode, this one over here is pretty important. No unlimited fuel and crash detection active. So that's what you want in what's in the real life. So you might as well, you know, that's why I'm saying go to the high end straight away. Yeah, like don't bother with the ones where, you know, you have unlimited fuel and no crash detection, because you know you want it realistic. Yeah, you're not going to kill yourself in real life. Well, same thing here. So the date's already automatic. I've gone and set the fuel, total payload's already been done, etc. It just gives you the model number, the location where we are on the ground. Okay, so yep, so already, so you can see that's where I am at Ohakia, and that's where I'm going to be flying to. This is a really handy map, yeah. I'm going to say it's great that they've gone and introduced into this a map. It just helps identify things a lot better for help with your management system. Okay, so you can zoom in and out, as you can see, and you can do that with the mouse wheel. Now, the first thing you want to do, start tracking. So as soon as you hit the start tracking, you're renting the aircraft, but it only is monitored after you start your engines. You're right. So after you start your engines, as you can see here, the session duration is already started. Now you can abort the flight, and that will just obviously get you back to where you were, and you've still got the pending order in place. So yeah, so that's probably where we'll end the first part of this, and then you can fly it, and I'll show you that part on another part. And yeah, so I'm sure there'll be a few questions involved, and in which case you can again just ask those questions in the actual comment section, and I'll do my best to answer those. Okay, thanks for watching.